So obscene amounts of news have been coming out today, and being able to fit that all into Newswave tomorrow morning would be really, really difficult unless Newswave was like half an hour long. So here we are. We're going to talk a bit about some of the sales numbers going on between the PlayStation 4 and the Switch. Not much talk about the Xbox because they won't really tell us any sales numbers, really, whereas the Switch and the PlayStation 4 have straight up numbers attached to the systems and then kind of give us an idea, because massive milestone for the PlayStation 4 was just crossed, and it looks like the Switch is picking up steam going into the holidays when it's going to be like full on, like moving forward. It's going to get pretty ridiculous for the Switch when that Switch Lite comes out, and pre-orders for that even opened today, and there were sellouts pretty quick on Amazon. So it's looking like the Switch and the PlayStation are rolling along, with the PlayStation, of course, towards the end of its lifespan, although it's not really acting like it, and the Switch seemingly just getting started. Nintendo posted updated numbers for software and hardware. It appears that their hardware for the last fiscal quarter, which would be covering the last few months up to the end of June, so that would be April, May, and June, it looks like they sold just over 2 million units, so about 2.1 million Switch units, which is actually up from the quarter prior from last year, which was about 1.88. So hardware sales are up, software sales appear to be up, and it looks like their actual revenue overall is up by a little bit. They're actually down 10% on their actual profit, because according to them, 12 billion yen was lost with exchange rate and other factors. That was how they described it, which is weird. I don't really know much about all of that with exchange rate and everything, but maybe someone in the comments could explain that in a bit more detail if you're a little familiar with that. Also, make sure you hit that like button if you like kind of this look over what's going on here with both the systems and everything. So, the Switch now at 36.87 million units. Nintendo seems to still be sticking with they're looking for about 18 million units overall this fiscal year, and that would place them about 52 million units by the end of March next year. So that is a pretty lofty goal, but that would put them in pretty good company, because that is very, very fast to be selling as a system. And of course, Nintendo said themselves that they are looking to really compete by having a large install base and giving developers a reason to create for your system. The Wii U did not have much of a reason to create for, as you can see down there, 13.5 million units. It's not a lot. It's not. That's why it didn't get a lot of games, and Nintendo themselves even didn't really put out many games at times. And you can even see the software number right there. It speaks for itself at already. I mean, the Switch has already more than doubled the software numbers from the Wii U. So 36.87 million units of hardware for the Switch. And it looks like going into, again, the holidays with the Switch Lite, where the price will drop, and then, of course, that revision, things are going to get a bit more out of control. I'm going to say this now. It seems like this is most likely going to be the case. I do think the Switch is going to get very close to, possibly even cross 100 million units. I think there is a good chance, but it's July 30th, 2019. It might be interesting to come back to this video in a couple of years. I think with the Switch Lite being introduced at its price point so early in the system's lifespan, I mean, think about how long it took for the PS4 to get to $200. Technically, it's not always there now, right? We have to wait for sales. The Switch is going to have some sort of system in the Switch family that's already to that price point. So yes, I think it's going to eclipse 3DS numbers, and I think it could cross 100 million units. I do see that as being possible. It also depends on how long the lifespan of the system is. Now, looking at the sales data for the games is where the Switch really starts getting out of control, because here's the thing about the Switch. First-party games sell very, very, very well. Like, here's an example. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is just the Switch version, right? We're not counting the Wii U version all, which sold like another 8 million or something crazy. Which is a lot on the install base we saw for the Wii U. 17.89 million units. That's almost to 18 million units. It actually ended up being the best-selling game this past quarter for Nintendo out of everything you're seeing on this list. Not Mario Maker 2, by the way, which we'll get to in a second, because it's not on this list. But keep in mind that came out right at the end of the fiscal, right at the end of June, right? And it's an interesting number. You're going to want to see this one. So Mario Kart Deluxe 17.89 million, sold just over 1 million units in the quarter, which is insane. That's crazy. I think that might be the best selling first party game out of all platforms already this generation. If you count the Switch, in that generation, because technically Nintendo's like one ahead, but that's pretty good already, and that's going to cross 20 million without any issues, obviously. Mario Odyssey, 14.94 million pieces, and you have Smash Bros. Ultimate below that, 14.73. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is still rolling along, still selling quite a few, actually, at 13.61 million. Then we go down from there to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. That means that we have Nintendo with 5 titles. I'm counting these obviously as one. 5 titles, already over 10 million units. That is quite a number already. That is a lot. And then you can see Splatoon 2 slowly climbing up the ladder. It's sold just over 300,000 units this past quarter. I think within the year, it's especially with like Christmas and everything, it will get to 10 million. I don't think that's a problem. I think something like Mario Maker 2 will also. But I'm actually surprised. Okay, I will say this. I'm surprised by Mario Party being essentially 7 million units, because I think that game needs some help. And it's shocking to me that it hasn't seen an update yet with those many selling. That's a little odd. Also, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at just over 4 million units. I think the sales for that will slow down now that Mario Maker 2 is out, but Nintendo got quite a bit back for what was pretty much just a straight port, just about, right, from the Wii U. So there you go. And 1-2 Switch, 3 million units. Let's just all kind of sit here and think about that for a second, that 1-2 Switch has sold over 3 million pieces. Now, you might be wondering, where is Mario Maker 2? Well, it didn't quite make the cut here. It came out right at the end of June, right? But according to Nintendo, in like the first 3 days, the game sold over 2.4 million copies. That is ridiculous. The next fiscal report, it will be on this list. I would expect it to be above 1-2 Switch at least, right? It might be right around where New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is right now, and then fit in right between these two with Mario Party above it. But that is pretty crazy when it comes to software. I'm going to be really curious about the holiday numbers for the system, because we've talked about this before. October, November, December, that's where Nintendo really, they make a lot of their money right there, and they sell a lot of systems, and the Switch Lite will be there, Pokemon will be there. It's going to get out of control for them, and I said this before, by the end of the year, it will have passed the Xbox One. We believe the Xbox One is right at 42 to 43 million units right now. And I do see the Switch passing that this holiday, to be honest. I don't think it'll be an issue at all. Also, check this out. The PlayStation 4 is a certified beast. They've sold 100 million PlayStation 4s at this time. Sony has. They've moved them along to retailers and everything. So they've done their job, I would say. 100 million unit seller for the PlayStation 4. That means that 3 of the 4 home consoles that Sony has released has crossed the 100 million mark. That is pretty big. And they expect to be over 110 million units sold by the end of this fiscal year and everything. It'll probably be closer to 113 possibly, which is ridiculous. Again, it's insane to see how strong the PS4 is, because we do compare it to the Xbox One, right? We look at the Xbox One, and then the PlayStation 4 is right next to it, and it's not even a fair comparison at this time. What makes this so impressive, though, is that it is the fastest system to get to 100 million. This is the fastest we've ever seen this happen before. Daniel Ahmed actually broke this down on Twitter with saying it took PlayStation 2 a total of 5 years and 9 months, and the PS4 was just 5 years and 7 months. So yeah, that's right. It beat the Wii and the PS2 to 100 million units. And the Wii did it very quickly as well. But the PS4 was faster, and that is something else. I do wonder how far the PS4 can go. I don't think it'll catch the PS2, mostly because when the PS5 comes out, of course, it won't sell as fast anymore. But I was surprised to see it sold 3.2 million systems this past quarter. That's right. It sold more than the Switch by a healthy margin in that quarter. Now, of course, we get into the holidays with the Switch Lite and the PS4 starting to slow down. You'll see the Switch overtake it then. And the Switch is currently owning the US and Japan. But I think the European region is heavily favoring the PlayStation right now, and other parts of the world. But big props to the PS4. It's really impressive to see what it's been able to do in a time where we're always talking about game streaming, right? We're talking about basically ways to get the home console away from us. Sony keeps proving people wrong, and I would say Nintendo does as well. It's mostly Microsoft who's fallen behind, and I do hope Microsoft figures this out going into the next generation with Scarlet and the PlayStation 5, because we need Microsoft to also be competitive with Sony, because Nintendo's already said they're not that interested in competing with either of them, right? So we need Microsoft to compete with Sony. Otherwise, Sony could do something like pull a PlayStation 3 where they charge $600 for the system because they get so comfortable, and then we're stuck, right? Because that would be a problem. So that's why we need Microsoft to exist. We need them to do better, and I'm hoping next generation they do. But with Microsoft's current plans and thoughts around home consoles and exclusives, I don't know if they're ever going to be competitive like that with Sony again. So we'll see. Maybe next generation, Sony stumbles out of the gate. It doesn't seem that way with the PS5 from what we've heard. But I think Phil Spencer leading Xbox can at least do better than they can't do any worse than the Xbox One when that launched, right? I don't think it's possible. They're even going to have Halo this time to launch with on Scarlet, so we'll see. But yes, the Switch doing really well. Should have a big holiday push with the Switch Lite and, of course, the Switch revision and Pokemon and Zelda and Luigi's Mansion and Astral Chain, and the list goes on for holiday titles. And the PlayStation 4 has already hit that 100 million mark, and now we're just going to see how much further it can go before the PS5 releases. But yes, big time numbers here, guys. Let me know what you think about the sales numbers for the Switch and the PlayStation 4. Where do you think the Switch will end up? Do you think the Switch can be a 100 million unit seller? And do you think the PS4 will catch the PS2? That's actually a very interesting question. I think the PS4 would have to last, I would say 8 years to get there. The PS2 lasted forever. They had, I think, FIFA 14 or something crazy, right? It was around for a long time. But let me know what you guys think down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.